Hey guys, it's BlueMoonRisingTV. Alex here. I'm joined today by our very own token ginger, Mr. Paul Walsh. How you doing, Paul?
Great
nice to have you here.
Keeping the numbers up.
Ticking those boxes. Today we are going to be previewing Manchester City's Premier League clash this weekend with AFC Bournemouth. Are we worried about Eddie Howe's men, Paul?
Well, after on the form that City are in at the minute, no, not at all, mate. But before we get onto that, we've got something to do.
Well, obviously, every week we've been doing a part of the previews. We have been getting involved with FanDuel, which is a brand new fantasy league format. If you've been watching these previews, you know all about it. If you don't, it's very similar to fantasy football in the way that it is family football. Fantasy football.
It's family football as well. All the family can join in. No, but basically, we've been doing pretty well over the course of the season so far. They've got various different pots. You can win up to a pot of £7,500 in the competition that we're in, and that is with this team that we've entered here. So let us know. You make a new team every week. You can win a lot of money. You've got to be over 18. You've got to live in the UK. Okay, but apart from that, you can get stuck in.
But you can play with us, BlueMoonRisingTV, each week as a channel. We've been trying to pick our own team. Now, Stephen has been taking a lead on this, and it's fair to say that the BlueMoonRisingTV team has been doing terrible. So Stephen's on holiday this week, so I've stepped in to try and clear it up.
This is both of us. Yeah, this is Alex is the fixer. The first week I did it, and we came top out of the top fan channels, by the way. So looking for a bit of form. Now, we've got some top tips for you, okay? So you get stuck in here. Right, so Claudio Bravo, he's only 5 million, which is a good price for a goalkeeper.
It's a bargain. David De Gea is like 8.5 million.
Yeah,
Czech is about 8.9.
This is a game that if he keeps a clean sheet, which admittedly we've not been able to do that much so far, you know, against Bournemouth, you'd be hoping that we will, he could get a load of points. And if he touches the ball quite a bit as well, passes as well, you get points for that. He's a bargain. Our next City player is John Stones. Still cheap. He's gone up a bit because he's having such great performances. He was around 5.8 million when he came in. But because he's playing every week, week in, week out, and he's always getting consistently good points, he's gone up to 7 million, but it's still cheap. So we'd recommend him. Then Alex suggested Bellerin. He's obviously...
Arsenal away at Hull, obviously, and we're expecting Arsenal to be the favourites there.
Yeah.
Hull, you're hoping will give Arsenal another challenge that Bellerin, as defender, will still pick up the tackles and interceptions, but also racing up that wing, getting the crosses in.
Fullbacks are a good...
bag and assist
Fullbacks are, a good choice if they get assists, definitely. Alderweireld, however you pronounce his name. That's another one, Alex, that you suggested.
Again, Spurs at home to Sunderland. Sunderland, you're hoping will create a couple of chances to give Alderweireld something to do at the back. Scored against Monaco in the week for Spurs.
On form.
So you'd expect him as well to be someone, and also getting those passes in as well. He likes to go forward.
We tend to go with 3 at the back because, as is always the case in fantasy football teams, it tends to be the strikers and the midfielders, the attacking players, that get the points. We've thrown them bank at Kevin De Bruyne because he's 15.3 million, is our most expensive player, but it's when somebody like that, he's guaranteed to get really stuck in. You think he's going to run the show, don't you?
I think he's been running the show in the Premier League, let alone just against Bournemouth. But
best player in the league, I would say so far.
Last year, I remember at Bournemouth away, I think he scored once, bagged 2 assists. He took Bournemouth to pieces. He's unplayable. Bournemouth, they'll do their best, but you've got to back him to get at least an assist.
Who have you got next?
Mikel Antonio, a bit of a maybe left field choice this, but you know what? He keeps producing the goods at West Ham. They also play him almost as a striker at West Ham this season, so sneaking in a striker in the midfield.
That's also a good idea, isn't it? To go for those kind of midfielder players that are kind of strikers. I remember when Ronaldo used to be in the Premier League, I used to always go for him. He's classed as a midfielder, but really, he was picking up loads of goals.
West Ham going to West Brom away, and West Brom in a little bit of trouble, so you'd hope Antonio will punish their back 4.
Ericsson, again, against Sunderland it is, right? You'd think that they're going to beat Sunderland, you'd think, and so these in the midfield and in the strikers, they're going to be picking up points all over the show, you'd expect. Capoue, now, this is a player that has probably overperformed so far in the season, or he could carry on, who knows, but the big thing is he's going up against United.
So easy 3 points for Watford.
Easy 3 points, yeah, exactly. We're banking on Capoue to keep banging him in. And again, a midfielder who's going to hopefully pick up goals. We could have gone between him and Pogba, but Pogba, we didn't even check how much he cost, to be honest. What's he done? He's a nobody. Then strikers, Iheanacho. Big call. We would highly, highly suggest that you go for Iheanacho in your team. He's only 6.6 million. That's because he's not really got much game time up until now. But obviously with Aguero out, he's going to be the main man, we think. Lukaku and Diego Costa. Now, Diego Costa's coming up against Liverpool, but he's on form. Does he pick up a red card? That's the only danger.
So Lukaku's actually a bit of a budget choice. A lot of people will go for Zlatan, who's the most selected player on the game. Nearly a third of people select Zlatan. But for 6 million less, that's almost an entire player in some cases. Lukaku's 9 million and scored 80 points last week for Everton when he bagged a hat-trick against Sunderland. Middlesbrough, similar club, similar position in the table.
Yeah.
You'd expect Lukaku at home to bring in the points as well.
That's our team, guys. So let us know. Get involved. Remember, use the code BlueMoon. Let us know how you're getting on. Compete with us. Win loads of money. Now we're going to get on to pick the team for Bournemouth.
All right, so now we're going to try and pick the teams. We're going to predict, and if you can predict Pep Guardiola, we'll do our best we can. But try and guess which 11 players he's going to go for. So I'll start right at the very top. I presume Claudio Bravo will continue in goal. Looked pretty assured against Mönchengladbach after a mixed start, shall we say. Pep was apparently happy with it, but came into a lot of criticism against Manchester United. But I think we agree, looked the business against Mönchengladbach.
Totally. I think it was guaranteed to happen that he'd find his rhythm. He'd be absolutely fine. A cheeky little chip over the top of the Mönchengladbach attacker absolutely did him. And he was comfortable. He had a couple of shots to save, and he did what he needed to do. So I think, against United, they were just throwing balls into the box at all angles. It was one of those ones that, as a keeper, you wanted. It was probably someone who'd got some experience, who'd been playing week in, week out. So throwing him in, it was the deep end a little bit, but we came out of it. It's fine. I'm sure he's going to be a class player for City. So Claudio Bravo in net. Now at right back, Zabaleta had a great game against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Now is Pep the sort of manager who will play some players for the league, some players for the Champions League? Will he do what Pellegrini did, which is swap over the full-backs every time? It's hard to say at the minute. He seems to have been sticking with Sanya in the league so far, at least. Do you think he'll go with Sanya?
I think as well, there's also that rotation. So Manchester City are now going to play 5 games in 13 days, with the Mönchengladbach game being pushed back, with us playing Swansea twice, with us playing Bournemouth and then the Celtic game. So it's going to be very, very busy. I think you'll see as much rotation as you can. And I got the impression that Sanya will probably start. And I think Sanya hasn't done anything to lose his place as well as Zabaleta has played. So
No, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing Zabra as a cup competition player, and we're going to be in a lot of cups over and then we might even have youth team players there as well. Who knows? Maybe it will be.
And it's not to be sniffed at. You think if City could feasibly play 60 games this season, assuming we hit semi-finals in both cups.
Pep's not used to that either.
So it is one of those, isn't it? I think where Zabaleta playing in the cup, it's still 20 appearances. It's not to be sniffed at at all.
No.
So I'm going to predict Sanya at right back. We're locking that in.
I'm happy with that.
I guess Stones and Otamendi, I think I'm most likely to see. Because they've been brilliant. Company is getting closer and closer to fitness. A couple of people have been asking about it on Twitter, I've seen. But I think for me, it's got to be Stones and Otamendi just because they're in form. I
reckon we'll see Company, if he's fit, if he's available, I think he'll make his debut this season at Swansea in the Cup next week. I think that's a good time to throw him in there. But there's a big question that will have to be answered, and we'll see soon enough, is will a fit Vincent Kompany necessarily be in the first 11? I think we'll have to wait and see. One of the things I keep saying week in, week out is one of the reasons we've suffered defensively under Pellegrini the last couple of seasons is not having a solid centre-back pairing. I think one is starting to form. If John Terry could play every minute of every game for Chelsea the season they won the league, I don't see any reason why Stones and Otamendi can't have that sort of a partnership as well. No, definitely. It's interesting to see how it will develop. And it's weird because Pep talks so highly about Kompany, but it's a hard decision to make. Which one do you drop, Stones or Otamendi? Because they've both been impeccable. I think the fact that Stones was his man, as in he brought him in specifically, maybe you would think that Stones is the first name on the team sheet defensively. Who knows though? I think every player has got their chance, will have their chance to play their way into Pep Guardiola's game. But I think for this, we're going to see Stones and Otamendi have been class so far. So at left back? Well, Kolarov or Clichy, it's a half and half. I think because Kolarov played midweek, I think Clichy might get the nod. But Kolarov against United and against Mönchengladbach looked solid. And last season, I was a Kolarov outman, but he just keeps producing the goods this year. Yeah, you can't argue with that. I'm happy to see Clichy start or Kolarov, but we think it'll be Clichy just for rotation purposes. Into central midfield. Now this is an interesting one. Gundogan, of course, played against Mönchengladbach. I think Bournemouth is a game that he could really thrive in. And I think Fernandinho is also worth a shout. It looks like Silva is still going to be out injured. Obviously, Yaya's not an option. I can't really see Delph or Fernando being recalled. So I'm going to say Fernandinho and Gundogan in that role, with Fernandinho dropping back in that disciplined role and Gundogan being allowed to roam forward. I'm happy to go with that. I really, at this moment in time, it's very difficult to say. You've got to look at the fitness. Fernandinho is a beast. We know that he would probably play every minute of every game if he could, and he would. And then Gundogan, how well has he coped? He seemed to cope very well. He seemed to leave the pitch looking great. He didn't seem to have any rustiness. So I'm happy to say that. It seems like Gundogan plays a little bit further forward than Fernandinho, who's in that sort of holding role, but they can, like you say, drop in and out.
Yeah, I'm also throwing it out there. This could be a real opportunity for Alex Garcia, the young Spanish midfielder who I can imagine Pep likes very, very much, who Stephen raves and raves and raves about.
Yeah.
But he's made a couple of appearances on the bench, and I think that actually, if this goes to plan, and without wanting to sound arrogant or presumptuous, I really think that we've got a real chance of putting 2 or 3 goals past Bournemouth at home. And you might hope that maybe you might see Gundogan or Fernandinho play the first half, and if it has gone to plan, Garcia coming off the bench.
I think maybe we'll wait. We'll see that in the cup. Maybe, but who knows? You might be right. Yeah, we've got, like you say, he's going to mix things up. Guardiola likes to give young people a chance. So we're going to say, are we saying Fernandinho in the holding role and Gundogan just ahead of him?
I think so. Almost in that 4-1-4-1 that we saw against United, I think, with Gundogan replacing Silva. And I'm going to say Kevin De Bruyne, surely. I can't see him not starting on that right side of those middle 10s.
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne is absolutely... I think he's arguably the best player in the Premier League right now. He's certainly up there, top 3.
Certainly in the discussion. I think even the most hardened United or Chelsea fan couldn't argue that he's definitely up there.
He's absolutely, he showed that he does it in big games as well. So Kevin De Bruyne, again, if he's available, if he thinks he's fit, then he will play. Remember, the fact that we had this game delayed by 1 day means that we're closer than ever to that Saturday kickoff, and it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. So they will have only had, they had less than 72 hours rest. So let's just see if they're fit. And then the question is, Sterling seems undroppable at the moment.
He does.
Navas, you would expect, isn't going to make it into the first 11.
I imagine Navas will probably play in the Swansea game in the week on the Wednesday night.
Yeah, again, more of a cup competition player, you might imagine. So how do you think we're going to line up? Do we think are we going to see a starting debut for Leroy Sané, and then Sterling on the left? Are we going to see Nolito on the left, Sterling on the right?
It's one of those, isn't it? I think Nolito was rested against Mönchengladbach, so it'll be interesting to see. I think Nolito will start. I think it'll be unusual for Pep to not play Nolito two games in a row.
Nolito on the left then?
I expect
and then
so.
On the right, there's a bit of a battle on between 2 players now. Sterling seems to be undroppable, like I say at the moment. Do you think now's the chance to give Leroy Sané that first start?
It might be. I think you might see Sané start. I think he's he's shown that he deserves a start. I think also the price that we've paid for him, as long as his fitness is there, Pep will want to give him a league start, a home game, a real chance to prove himself. Do you want to make your full debut at Old Trafford? Do you want to make your full debut in a cup game? True. So I think Sané will start, and I think that makes it really hard. That's one of the reasons we talked about putting Sterling in a fantasy team, but you can't guarantee that he will start. So
There's
I think
so much competition for those places that the thing about the fan duel team is that you don't know which of the forwards to go in because they seem to get swapped in and out.
And also you might even see Kelechi get caught up in that, just because Sterling has been so good that Sterling plays on the left and Nolito down the middle. Yeah. We don't know. So let's put our neck out. I'm going to put my neck out and say Sané starts
that is
on
not
the right.
putting your neck out by mixing both players' names together and saying Sané. Okay,
Sané on the right, Kelechi down the middle.
Okay, there we go. That's our starting 11. Before we finish, Alex, do you have a score prediction for us?
I'm going to go 4-0. But it could be 5-6, couldn't it? I think it's optimistic, and it will go one or two ways. I think that we've got to score in the first 10-15 minutes. Just so we get those lovely hands-on hips from Bournemouth players, here we go again, and not get to 30 minutes where Bournemouth hold on to a 0-0 and start to shut down. Because even with Pep Guardiola at home, Bournemouth, they've got that in them. And Eddie Howe is a massive motivator, and if anyone can come to the Etihad, I think Eddie Howe is a man that could do it and get a result. So score early on, we can hit 5 or 6. Leave it late, we could be looking at 1-0.
Okay, I'm gonna say 3-0 City, and you just don't know. Like you say, we could put loads past them. It could have been 6 against Mönchengladbach. The thing about Mönchengladbach was that they came at us, and it was probably a bit foolish on their half. I mean, maybe they should have done that. With fair play to them. But you come at City at the moment, the form that we're in, they're going to leave gaps at the back, and now that attack line. It is unstoppable at the moment. Guys, let us know your predictions. Let us know your starting 11. Who do you go with on the right? Do you go with Sterling? Do you go with Sané? Or do you go with Alex and go for Sané? I mean, it's really up to you. Anyway, guys, get involved in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that business. Come on, City.